Do you remember waxed hallways, squeaky sneakers, or trading stickers at lunch? Kids of the 1980s thrived on small adventures, from playground games to hand-crank pencil sharpeners. Today we are revisiting 25 school memories only kids from that era will truly remember. Grab your Trapper Keeper and let's relive the magic of school in the 1980s. The start of the school year in the 1980s meant one thing for every kid: the chance to show off a brand new Trapper Keeper. These colorful binders were more than just a place to store homework. They were a statement. Each design was bold, filled with neon colors, geometric patterns, or licensed characters, and choosing the right one was a serious business. Inside, dividers separated math from spelling, notes from doodles, while outside, stickers and patches turned a simple binder into a personal canvas. Kids would spend hours organizing papers, carefully snapping the Velcro closures, and swapping tips on how to keep the chaos at bay. The thrill of opening a fresh Trapper Keeper, pristine and full of possibilities, made the start of a new school year feel electric. And while Trapper Keepers gave us a sense of organization and pride, they quickly led to a very different kind of excitement: the art of trading stickers with classmates during recess, a ritual that brought friendship, negotiation, and just a touch of competition to every playground. Sticker trading was a language all its own. Lisa Frank stickers, with their neon unicorns smiling under rainbow skies, became the prized currency of recess. Kids would compare collections, trade duplicates for rare designs, and even invent secret codes to protect their favorite finds. The act of trading required negotiation skills, courage, and the occasional bluff, because losing a coveted sticker could feel like losing a tiny treasure. These small exchanges were more than just fun. They were social experiments in trust, friendship, and clever strategy. And while stickers could brighten notebooks, lunchboxes, and binders, classroom life demanded focus elsewhere. Every day we faced the inevitable struggle of chalkboard lessons and the relentless dust of erasers, a seemingly simple tool that could test patience, skill, and frustration tolerance. Chalkboard erasers may seem mundane today, but in the 1980s they were a constant companion to every lesson. Smudged boards, streaky surfaces, and the cloud of chalk dust made erasing a full blackboard both a challenge and a skill to master. Kids competed to be called up to clean the board, trying not to leave streaks or miss a single letter. The eraser itself, often worn down unevenly or fraying at the edges, became a personal extension of your classroom effort. And even though erasing seemed like a small task, it connected directly to other moments of childhood fascination, like exploring books that smelled as good as they looked, scratch and sniff pages in storybooks, reading assignments, or stickers offered another layer of sensory adventure, blending imagination with a tiny burst of aroma that made every lesson memorable. Scratch and sniff books were magic in the palm of your hand. Whether it was the scent of fresh apples in a reading assignment or a sweet candy smell on a sticker, these sensory experiences brought stories to life. Kids would spend minutes lingering over a page, pressing their noses close and comparing scents with friends, giggling at the unexpected bursts of fragrance. These books transformed ordinary reading into an interactive adventure, one that paired learning with delight. Yet as immersive as books could be, another classroom ritual demanded stealth, creativity, and dexterity: the careful art of passing folded notes. Passing notes was the ultimate form of covert communication before the age of digital messaging. Small squares of paper, carefully folded into secret envelopes, could carry messages of friendship, crushes, or weekend plans. Passing a note required skill. Slide it under a desk, hand it off unnoticed, or stash it in a pencil case without getting caught by the teacher. The thrill of secrecy made even the simplest message feel dramatic, turning a regular school day into a covert adventure. Every folded note was a tiny rebellion, a reminder that school life had its own secret world. And just as notes carried whispered stories across the classroom, playgrounds and hallways soon offered their own daily adventures, each waiting for the next kid ready to make a memory. Nothing defined the classroom like the classic troublemaker, gum stuck under the desk. Every kid knew it was forbidden, yet every kid had encountered it at least once. That sticky mess clung to shoes, fingers, and occasionally hair, making a simple walk to your seat a potential adventure or disaster. Teachers would glare, desks would be inspected, and yet the presence of gum somehow added character to the school day. There was an unspoken camaraderie among students who navigated this sticky landscape, carefully avoiding the worst spots while laughing quietly at each new victim. And while gum might seem like a minor nuisance, it often accompanied another everyday delight, lining up in the cafeteria for a cup of bright, tangy orange drink that made lunch feel special. The cafeteria orange drink was a small but unforgettable highlight of every school day. That sweet, citrusy flavor poured from the dispenser into little plastic cups, instantly brightening lunchtime conversations. Kids would trade bites of dessert, joke with friends, and clink cups in secret cheers while savoring every sip. It was more than a beverage. It was a ritual, a shared taste that connected every classroom, every grade, and every lunch period. Yet as satisfying as lunch could be, it was only a prelude to the next daily challenge, reading aloud in front of the class, a nerve-wracking test of courage and confidence. Reading aloud was a moment of bravery in every student's day. Sitting at your desk, flipping to the assigned page, and projecting your voice to the entire class was a true test of focus and courage. One mispronounced word or stutter could bring whispers, giggles, or sympathetic smiles, making the experience a mixture of anxiety and pride. Reading aloud taught patience, clarity, and confidence, and for many, it was the first taste of performing under pressure. The nerves it inspired, however, were often soothed by small joys elsewhere in the classroom, like personalizing lockers with decorations, pictures, and magnets that reflected your style and personality. Locker decorations were a canvas for self-expression in an era before social media. Kids proudly displayed photos, posters, stickers, and even small trinkets, turning the metal doors into tiny showcases of individuality. From cartoon characters to inspirational quotes, each locker told a story, offering glimpses into hobbies, crushes, and personal tastes. Friends would gather to admire collections, trade small items, and leave secret notes tucked inside. It was a private space that connected personal expression with social interaction, and while lockers were a place to show off, they also reminded every student of the communal energy of school. And speaking of communal energy, no school memory was complete without the rumble and camaraderie of riding the bus, often from a special vantage point in a booster seat at the back. Booster seats on the school bus were a symbol of being just a little older, a little taller, or a little braver. Sitting high enough to see everything but still small enough to feel protected, these seats provided the perfect perch for gossip, jokes, and the excitement of the daily ride. Friends crowded around, trading stories about homework, TV shows, and weekend plans, while the rumble of the bus wheels became the soundtrack of childhood. Booster seats offered both a literal and figurative perspective on school life, bridging the small world of the classroom with the larger adventures that awaited. Beyond the doors, and from the bus, every kid knew that recess, games, and playground antics were never far away, ready to create the next unforgettable memory. Recess was a world of imagination, laughter, and competitive games that tested every ounce of energy and strategy. Classic games like Kick the Can or Red Rover dominated playgrounds, turning the blacktop or grassy fields into arenas of cunning and speed. Kick the Can required stealth, teamwork, and quick thinking as kids attempted to free captured players while avoiding being tagged themselves. Red Rover was all about daring, trust, and just a little pain as players held hands and shouted challenges across the field. These games were more than entertainment. They were lessons in negotiation, courage, and camaraderie, creating memories that lingered long after the final whistle. And while playground adventures shaped friendships, lunchtime offered its own slice of nostalgia, highlighted by the perfect accessory, the lunchbox. Lunchboxes in the 1980s were more than containers for peanut butter sandwiches and apple slices. They were a badge of personality care. Bear and Garbage Pail Kids lunchboxes, with their bright colors and playful designs, were a must-have for any trend-conscious kid. Opening a lunchbox was an experience in itself, revealing not just food, but personality, humor, and fandom. These lunchboxes sparked conversations, trades, and even envy among classmates, marking them as symbols of identity and taste. Yet, as iconic as lunchboxes were, they could not compete with another daily ritual, the enduring challenge of hand-crank pencil sharpeners in every classroom. Hand-crank pencil sharpeners were the unsung heroes of the school year. Mounted on classroom walls or tucked into corners, they demanded both skill and patience to avoid broken leads or jammed gears. The rhythmic twist of the crank, the soft whir of the blade, and the occasional accidental flick of pencil shavings were all part of a tactile, almost meditative ritual. Kids quickly learned which sharpeners worked best and how to manage the inevitable frustration of a snapped lead mid-worksheet. The sharpeners also encouraged camaraderie, as students helped each other rescue stuck pencils or borrowed extra sharpening time. And while pencils were prepared for writing, another creative tool awaited at home or in school supply closets: the magical worlds of Etch-a-Sketch and Magna Doodle. Etch-a-Sketch and Magna Doodle were windows into creativity long before tablets and touchscreens. With simple knobs or magnetic pens, children could draw, erase, and redraw to their heart's content, exploring art, imagination, and precision. Fire and tornado drills were moments that combined discipline, anticipation, and a little thrill. The shrill sound of bells or alarms sent students filing out of classrooms in orderly lines, hearts racing and sneakers squeaking against the floor. Teachers guided students with calm authority, while the world outside, the playground, hallways, and stairwells, became a temporary stage for rehearsal and readiness. These drills instilled a sense of responsibility, taught emergency protocols, and occasionally created moments of whispered jokes or playful dares. The combination of structure and mild excitement left a lasting impression, reminding every student that school life was about balance, learning, play, safety, and preparation. And as these routines passed, the focus would inevitably return to everyday classroom fun, where the next nostalgic adventure, library books, and Dewey Decimal discoveries awaited. Perfect attendance stickers were the ultimate badge of pride for students who rarely missed a day of school. Teachers handed them out with beaming smiles, recognizing dedication and reliability, while kids eagerly displayed them on folders, binders, or even lunchboxes. Collecting these stickers became a quiet competition, with some students striving to earn one each month, hoping to show classmates their commitment. Beyond mere recognition, the stickers symbolized responsibility and perseverance, small triumphs that helped shape work ethic and self-esteem. Each sticker was a tangible reminder that effort mattered, a simple reward that still brought smiles decades later. And while these stickers celebrated school diligence, another sweet reward often awaited after lunch or recess: the irresistible mini ice cream sandwiches that made the cafeteria line an even more enticing destination. Mini ice cream sandwiches were a lunchtime delight, perfectly portioned to satisfy cravings without overindulging. Each bite of chocolate cookie surrounding creamy ice cream offered a burst of cold sweetness that seemed almost magical on hot school days. Kids would trade flavors, compare favorites, and secretly savor every morsel while avoiding sticky fingers on desks or homework. These tiny treats became a ritual, marking special occasions or ordinary afternoons with a touch of joy. And while frozen desserts delighted the taste buds, the hands-on creativity of friendship bracelets captured attention and energy elsewhere in the classroom. Friendship bracelets were colorful threads of connection, woven with care and creativity to show loyalty and camaraderie. Kids spent hours twisting and braiding strings, creating intricate patterns and giving them to best friends as tokens of enduring affection. These bracelets were more than accessories. They were symbols of trust, shared secrets, and the bonds that made school life memorable. Wearing one on your wrist meant belonging to a circle of friendship, and losing one could spark genuine heartbreak. The joy of crafting and exchanging bracelets also prepared students for the next high-energy activity that dominated gym class: the thrill of dodgeball tournaments. Dodgeball tournaments were the highlight of gym class, turning ordinary school hours into arenas of adrenaline and strategy. The bounce of rubber balls, the squeak of sneakers, and the rapid-fire throws created a tense, exciting atmosphere. Kids honed dodging skills, plotted attacks, and celebrated dramatic victories with cheers and high fives. Winning a tournament was a badge of honor, giving bragging rights that lasted well beyond the gym walls. Even those on the losing side often found camaraderie in shared effort and playful rivalry. And while dodgeball kept energy flowing, another desk companion quietly entertained students during quieter moments: the stretchy, bouncy world of silly putty. Silly putty was a simple but magical substance that transformed ordinary desks into playgrounds of imagination. Kids would stretch, mold, and bounce it, copying comic strips or newspaper images in a satisfying imprint. Its pliability offered endless creativity, turning ordinary school moments into playful experiments. Silly putty sparked conversation, friendly competition, and occasional minor mischief, as kids discovered how far it could stretch or how perfectly it could lift ink from printed pages. While it was a small, hands-on distraction, it also represented the inventive, curious spirit that defined growing up in the 1980s. And from playful desks to social adventures, the school day continued to be a stage for unforgettable childhood memories, each waiting to be discovered by the next generation. Sneaking vending machine candy was a rite of passage for many kids in the 1980s. The allure of small, brightly wrapped treats tucked behind glass and guarded by a clunky coin slot was irresistible. Students carefully saved allowances, slyly monitored teachers, and timed their purchases to avoid suspicion. Whether it was a pack of gum, a chocolate bar, or a fruity candy, the thrill of slipping a sweet prize into a pocket or backpack created a rush that made ordinary school days feel adventurous. Friends would trade their secret stashes, comparing flavors and favorites, while the anticipation of the next visit to the vending machine kept excitement alive. And while sneaky snacks fueled energy, another classroom staple demanded attention in a very different way: the glowing, hum-filled overhead projector. Overhead projector presentations were a hallmark of 80s classrooms. Teachers and students alike used the large, glass-surfaced devices to display worksheets, diagrams, and notes, sliding transparent sheets across the bright light to illustrate lessons. The projector's glow captivated students, turning dry subjects into interactive visual experiences. Mistakes became theatrical, as a misaligned sheet or a wobbly pointer drew giggles or groans from the class. For students giving presentations, the device was both a tool and a stage, fostering confidence, focus, and public speaking skills. Yet while learning could be illuminated on a projector, creativity often thrived elsewhere, especially on walls filled with colorful construction paper bulletin boards. Construction paper bulletin boards were the unsung heroes of classroom decor. Teachers transformed plain walls into vibrant displays of student work, seasonal decorations, or motivational messages. Each piece of cut paper, carefully pinned or stapled, became part of a larger story, celebrating accomplishments and inspiring creativity. Students took pride in contributing art projects, essays, or crafts that would be showcased for all to see. The tactile nature of cutting, gluing, and arranging added hands-on learning to every display, turning simple walls into interactive galleries. And while visual arts flourished on bulletin boards, auditory arts came alive in another beloved part of school: Music class, often dominated by the crackling charm of vinyl records. Vinyl record music classes were an auditory time capsule of the 80s. Teachers spun records on turntables, filling classrooms with melodies that ranged from classical symphonies to pop hits of the day. Students learned to listen, follow rhythms, and even identify instruments, gaining both appreciation and technical knowledge. The warm crackle of the vinyl, the careful handling of records, and the shared experience of music brought a sense of community to the classroom. Notes were sung, rhythms tapped, and lessons were absorbed with a soundtrack unique to the era. Yet as music echoed through school halls, some subjects demanded a different kind of memory: the rapid-fire recitation of multiplication tables, often accompanied by catchy chants. These memories show how magical growing up in the 1980s really was. From lunchroom treats to playground games and classroom projects, each day was an adventure. Which of these moments do you remember most? Share your favorites in the comments and subscribe to relive even more iconic childhood memories.